let's move into some of these other games because there's another game that really it was a bit crazy here. Tennessee and Alabama. The Vols take down Alabama. The Crimson Tide on good old Rocky Top for the second time in Rocky Top in consecutive appearances. The cigars were lit, and it was a pretty fantastic performance in the second half. That's the third consecutive game that Tennessee has been shut out in the first half. Alabama was not able to take advantage of this fact, however. I felt like Alabama had a couple of opportunities to really take a stranglehold of this game in the first half, and they just missed every opportunity in it. Jalen Milroe played another not so great game in this one, and they go into the locker room 7-0. It could have been at least 14-0, but he had another interception that cost them that opportunity. But in the second half, Tennessee really asserted itself, and I feel like Nico, he got knocked out of the game for a moment and then comes back in, and it's almost like he got knocked back into gear because Tennessee comes back in the second half. He plays at a higher level. Dylan Sampson, though, I can't say enough good things about Dylan Sampson. He's the reason that they've won each of these last two games specifically. Dylan Sampson has been that good. He does it again, 139 yards and a touchdown. He's been held under 100 yards rushing in just one game this season. He is the reason that Tennessee is in the position that they are in right now. And Nico, I felt like got better as the game went on. He started off kind of slow here, and Tennessee's got their work cut out for them. They're not going to be able to perform like that throughout the course of their season. And look, if you go to Athens and perform like that, you're probably not going to get a win. But look, Tennessee was able to knock off their boogeyman. Alabama is somebody who has struggled recently, and I think that this team is on a downward trend right now. They're not playing with a lot of confidence, I don't think. And look, the team in and of itself is just not playing very well. I wonder at what point they're going to get back on the rails. You have Missouri coming to town now, and Missouri's another team that's trending in the wrong direction. But look, it's an identical sort of situation that Alabama found itself in at the beginning of this week. You're playing another team that's struggling. Two teams looking to keep their season on the rails. Alabama, it's starting to come undone.
Well, boy, let me take it from this way because I think this one general statement will impact both teams. I think what we saw from the Georgia Bulldogs is that one game can change perception in a very strong manner, right? Georgia was really on the wrong direction as well. They walk into Austin, Texas, do what they do. And we're like, hey, this is the team to beat for the championship. We didn't know if they were even going to make the playoffs, before that game. And I think that's what we're looking at with both of these teams is that one game can really change perception. And I think we'll start with Tennessee. It has absolutely changed the perception of this team and what they can accomplish. Look, Nico still has to be better. I agree with you. They still need to trust him more in big situations to find big plays. He found some in the second half, and it was the difference in the game. I talked to you about Dylan Sampson. He's an outstanding running back, but it feels like a lot of times he goes for $150 and 2 touchdowns, and it doesn't have the same impact necessarily on the game that you would think a running back going for. They're always in those games. You would think if he has that big day. So it's got to be about Nico. As great as Dylan Sampson is, and he is, it still has to be about Nico. And when they needed Nico to step up down the stretch at the end of this game with his arm, he absolutely did. Now, for Alabama, defensively, obviously you got to tighten up in the second half after a very strong first half. Offensively, I just don't think they're maximizing Jalen Milroe. I don't understand why he's not going on more designed runs. And now I know he officially ran the ball for 14 carries in this game. I think a lot of that was scrambling and trying to evade. He had a 10-yard run in one run for 10 yards, and he had 11 on the day. They're just not running him the way they used him against Georgia in the first half, and I don't know why. Maybe he's hurt, and they're not telling us. I don't know. But look, there was a whole first half of a season last year where Jalen Milroe was playing the way he is now. He got benched, and we're throwing our hands up and hey, what's happening? And then the second half, they found it. They figured out what ignites the offense, and they got him going to the part where he was almost a Heisman. So maybe that's what you're hoping for if you're Alabama, is that you can find whatever got into Jalen Milroe the second half of last year and find that again this year, because there's no reason that with Ryan Williams, that quarterback should be as controllable, I guess, as he is. Now, the Tennessee front, as we expected, did a great job. They forced 2 interceptions. They got 3 sacks on Jalen Milroe, and that doesn't include, again, all the tackles for loss or short gains when he was declared as a runner. So very good job by the front. This is just a hard-fought game for Tennessee. They were never out of it. This game was competitive all the way throughout. I almost can't believe these two teams got into the mid-20s, or at least that Tennessee did. I mean, it was ugly for a long time in this game. But I agree with you. They've got to find a way to be a little more explosive, more creative on offense. You just have to wonder, and I know they got Georgia coming up in a couple of weeks, if Dylan Sampson's going to be able to run like that against Georgia, because if not, and it does really fall to Nico, is he going to be able to deliver?
Yeah, I mean, look, Alabama. I want to finish this on Alabama, and then I'll move into Tennessee. Right? You mentioned the running ability of Jalen Milroe, right? And it's what makes him special is his ability to use his legs and his athleticism to get out of the pocket and really put stress on the defense. They haven't done it. They haven't used it at that level, and he may be hurt. I think that's really probably my only thought. Why they're not doing it, but also, where's his support? Where is anybody else in that backfield? Jam Miller, Justice Haynes. These are 2 guys who were supposed to be really high-level running backs for this Alabama team, and they just haven't been. Like, zero sum. They have not been good. I mean, they've been held under 104 yards rushing in each of their last 3 games. One of those fronts was Vanderbilt. South Carolina is not exactly, we know that they have a really strong pass rush. They're not necessarily super effective against the run. They're more effective at getting back and punishing drop back passers. But Alabama has not been able to run the ball with any level of effectiveness. And when you have a guy like Jalen Milroe in your backfield, that opens up everything. So I don't understand why this has been such an issue. Because if he's playing, I'm assuming he's healthy, right? I think it's foolish to necessarily to just assume that he's not healthy. But you got to do better. Because I'm looking at both of these teams. I don't think either of these teams are playing at a playoff level. I really have a hard time thinking that either of them deserve consideration. Now, based off of the resume and the rest of the season might dictate otherwise. If they both win out, they'll both be in. I mean, that's not what I'm saying. But based off of the way that they're playing right now, they have some serious issues. And now let's move into Tennessee. Like you talked about their explosiveness. They had no explosiveness. There was no explosiveness in this game. You're not going to be able to sit there and hope that Dylan Sampson can carry you on a week-to-week basis. Dylan Sampson's not that kind of back. He's really good, right? But you have matchups down the stretch. It's a manageable stretch, but I don't think you beat Georgia just by turning around and handing it off to Dylan Sampson. You need something else in this offense. Brew McCoy was able to pop off a little bit in this game, but ultimately, this has just been not very good. I mean, the defense has been strong for Tennessee. The defense has been strong, and it did a lot of good things here on Saturday, but I just got to see more. I got to see more from this Tennessee team. They're not going to have a ton of opportunities. Look, if you just continue to win, you'll control your destiny and you'll play your way in, but they're out of the driver's seat right now, and there's just been nothing convincing me since they lost to Arkansas a few weeks ago. I've not seen anything from Tennessee that convinces me that they're a legitimate contender, not just to win an SEC championship or even play in one, but I just feel like there's another loss coming here on this schedule. Kentucky is not a slouch of an opponent. We just saw them get smashed by Florida, but Kentucky, I mean, if they have that good performance in them, and if they come out and play at a high level and they quell Dylan Sampson a little bit, what is the recourse for Tennessee right now? I don't know if there is one.
I think you're going a little too far, if we're going to be honest. I think we also just sat and watched the Georgia team. I would say very similar things about until the defense showed up with that sort of effort.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to put it past Tennessee to find that sort of effort. You got to remember that Nico is a freshman,
Sure.
and I think they have been protecting him. And at some point, and I've said this for a couple of weeks now with you, at some point you just got to let him open it up, and maybe they're starting to slowly do that. As they gain confidence. I'm sure this game specifically was a big boost of confidence for him. Look, what this really did was allow Tennessee to lose to Georgia and still stay in the playoff discussion.
Mhm.
And that's what this win really does. If they win outside of the Georgia game, and that might include a tough game at the end of the year with, believe it or not, Vanderbilt, they're going to have the opportunities. That's what this win really did. I do tend to agree with you that again, just like Georgia, I hadn't seen it, but we felt it was there. I do
Mhm.
feel like it's there for Tennessee. I do feel the offensive explosion is possible. I feel like they have a quarterback that can do it if they would trust him. But we haven't seen it yet. And so until we really do see it, maybe we're just kind of playing that waiting game. But yeah, for me, what this did is give them the ability to lose to Georgia and still make the playoffs. And that's a big deal for Tennessee.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I'm not going to sit here and put losses on their schedule necessarily, and I don't intend to do that. But the team just hasn't looked completely sound. That's all. The offense specifically, the defense has played at a high level, and ironically, the thing that I had the most question marks about was their defense, not their offense, and now it's completely flipped. The script is uh, the offense is not doing very well. And I just need to see them put together a more complete effort on a more consistent basis, and then I'll buy in. But just as of right now, I'm not super bought into the Tennessee Volunteers. But big win there, though, for Rocky Top. I mean, anytime that Tennessee beats Alabama, that's huge. They rush the field, they tear down the goalposts, and it's always a beautiful sight up there in Tennessee, in Knoxville, Tennessee. But